Good evening, everybody. My name is Roland Gale, and I hope you're all doing very well. This is In Her Shoes, and I'm one of the hosts. I'll soon intro my co-host, but you're probably wondering why I am here as a man on a program that's called In Her Shoes. Well, to be honest, you have a right to wonder, but I hope you will soon understand. And I hope you don't run me because I actually want to be here. As a man, I want to understand what it means to be in her shoes, a woman's shoes. And I think this kind of understanding will help me and it will help other men to be better men for our women. And having said that, I want to introduce my sister and my friend, my co-host, Teresa Benjamin. Hey, sister.
Hey, greetings, bro. How are you?
I am well, I'm well.
I'm so looking forward to being on this journey. That's this interesting new journey that we're gonna be on together. Greetings to you, our viewers. It's a pleasure to have you. Now, ladies, gentlemen, please don't run my virgin. He is here for a reason. And because there's so much that we need to discuss and have a meeting of the minds in a forum like this. And I mean, what better forum is there than In Her Shoes? It's a women's program, and it is about every issue a woman has to face, a woman faces, regardless of our socioeconomic or religious or even our educational backgrounds. And we aim to help all our men understand our side of life. And I hope that you will stick with us and come along with us for this journey.
Yes, I hope they come along and stick with us as well. And one thing I want to make clear is that we're not here to argue or cow down anybody or debate. We may not agree on all the responses or all the different approaches to various issues, but just like Teresa said, we are here for the meeting of the minds. We're here to generate a mutual understanding, and in the process, we're certainly not going to forget that there is a spiritual foundation, a spiritual background to everything that impacts our lives. And so we're going to try and bring that to the issues that we discuss. And today we're going to be talking about this issue called catcalling. It's an issue that pervades our society. And I would just want to ask Teresa, what comes to your mind when you hear the phrase catcalling?
For me, when I hear the phrase catcalling, I think about an unwanted, oftentimes aggressive advances by a man directed towards a woman, and it more times than not includes unwanted comments of a very sexual or suggestive nature, and are usually directed towards a woman as it relates to her physical appearance or things that he would wish to do to her, usually within a sexual context, but generally just absolutely inappropriate and unwanted and aggressive in nature.
I hear you, I hear you. And when I hear you define it like that, it also comes to my mind that it may involve some amount of physical touch. Is that how you understand it?
No, for me, in my perception and my definition rather of catcalling, physical touch now takes it out of the realm of catcalling and into the realm of abuse or assault. Because
Right.
now you've now breached that boundary of personal space and you're making contact with my person without my permission or consent. So for me, catcalling is more of a verbalizing of a thought, a wish, and intent, while the physical touch now takes it outside of the realm of catcalling and it becomes a whole new issue and a greater issue at that.
Wow, right. I get you. I'm glad I asked that question because I always think of catcalling as coming along with a guy reaching out and holding onto a woman. Maybe she's passing him on the road and stuff like that. But that now takes it to a new level. That's no longer catcalling. That's probably physical
That's
abuse.
assault, yeah.
That's assault. I
Yeah.
get you. I get you. And so our listeners know we're not just here to talk about our own ideas and our own experiences. What we try to do is we try to inform ourselves by having guests on who are experts or who have their own opinions. And we also do research. And one piece of research we've done is just to ask around, to put a questionnaire out there about catcalling. And we have got some results that I think are very interesting. And perhaps Teresa could just give us an idea, a little summary of what the research has shown.
Um, yeah, man, absolutely. For me, the research pretty much reinforced the opinions that I would have held, or the expectations of the general opinions that I would have had on the subject of catcalling. And we were just talking about the definition of catcalling, and that was actually one of the questions that we posed to our respondents. And the question was, what does the term catcalling mean to you? And an overwhelming 2/3 majority of those persons polled indicated that for them, catcalling is unwanted shouts and or noises of a sexual nature. And then pretty much rounding out the other third was harassment in public. So harassment in public and lewd comments or gestures. So they all pretty much go hand in hand and kind of reinforce my take on what catcalling is. Unwanted shouts and or noises of a sexual nature, harassment in public, and lewd comments or gestures.
Yeah, and I mean, you wonder to yourself, why would people do that? But before we get into that, let me introduce or ask our guest to introduce herself. And we have got Carrie Ann. Hi, Carrie Ann, welcome to the program, In Her Shoes. So glad you could join us.
Hi,
Welcome,
good
Carrie
night.
Ann.
Good night. Thank you so much for having me.
Right. As you would have heard, we're discussing catcalling, and we had already kind of come with a definition of it. What would you consider to be a definition of catcalling? Give us your perspective.
My perspective on what catcalling is I wouldn't limit it to a male making advances at a woman inappropriately. You also have women who make advances to other women inappropriately. But certainly it is an advance that is very unwelcoming and disturbing and distracting. It is not like, a man try to look a woman or, politely. So catcalling for me would be, okay, I'm trying to get to work, trying to go about my business, and a man say, hey girl, I want you. And that's a real experience. Mm-hmm. And in his mind, he's just doing what him think is natural, but it is very disrespectful and annoying, So basically that is what catcalling is to me. Inappropriate advances in a sexual way to women.
Right. You mentioned something a while ago, but before I pick up on that, I wanted to ask you just where exactly would you reside? Don't tell me your address, but would it be in Kingston? Would it be out of Kingston? Where in Jamaica would you normally frequent and have this experience?
Kingston.
In Kingston, actually. All right. Does it matter where you are? If you are in a particular area in Kingston, or does it happen all over the corporate area?
Okay, so depends on where you are. You would get it at different levels.
Really?
So yeah. So
okay.
If you're in a specific community, then you'll hear, my girl, right now, I just want your foot on my shoulder and want what you're supposed to do. While you would go somewhere else of a different socio-economic background, and then you hear just this annoying, manipulative way of forcing you to give into their advance, forcing you to give into their you giving them your number, this kind of manipulative. I'm not interested, but you have to be, because do you know who I am?
Wow.
Yeah, so it depends on where you go. It is really inappropriate.
Right.
But to different levels.
And I wonder what would you hear from friends you have? What would you hear from people who you go to work with? Would they share the same kind of experience that you have?
Yes.
They would.
yeah.
Go
A friend
ahead.
of mine, yeah, a friend of mine, I spoke to her and she said she's afraid to put on her clothes and go anywhere because somebody somewhere is gonna make a very inappropriate and vulgar remark toward her. Baby, left your man and come to me. Oh, you look so nice. I should have your number. And she's like, I'm not interested. I'm just trying to go to work. And so I have done
I'm
it.
trying to figure, okay, so tell me something. Does this happen every day? Does it happen when you go to work in the morning, when you go out for lunch, when you come back from lunch, when you're heading home in the evening? What's the frequency?
Okay, so timing is important. Let me tell you. From a particular community, if you leave out midday, that time, that is when most of the men will be out on the road.
And these are what? Idle men? What kind of men are these?
I would call them idlers. Because what are you doing on the road at midday and harassing me? You're standing in a corner, you're standing at a bar, you're standing at a mechanic shop, you're at a shop, wherever you are. What are you doing there? So, and then now, so let me tell you, sometimes it starts like this. Sometimes they start very pleasant. Oh, good morning. Hi, good morning. I know you are trying to be pleasant because you kind of know fearful because who is this person? Will this person seek to grab me? Is this person a thief? Is this my so what they'll start very subtly, hi, good morning, and you'll answer and you'll be pleasant. And then now after a while, some of them come now and say, say, boy, I'm a pre no baby, and say, boy, are you my life, have to give me 3 picnic, and I make clothes to wash, and you're like, so you have to now quickly devise, okay, how do I get out of this situation? And I find that men who actually do catcalling, whether in a very vulgar way or a very, nice and subtle way, them actually believe in their head that you are interested. They actually
I am
believe
kind
it.
of stumped. I'm kind of stumped. And so I'm going to ask Teresa. Teresa, is this, I don't even know what to ask you because I'm wondering to myself, how can a right thinking man go to a woman he doesn't know and said, I'd like you to have 3 babies for me and you can wash my clothes.
Yeah.
How is that? How is that something of importance to the woman that you don't know?
My thoughts on it is this. If and this, as Carrie is saying, this is her experience is not foreign. It is not isolated. Even in the spaces that I exist and I traverse, whether it be during work or on my daily personal whatever. These are things that every woman gets. I mean, as Carrie said, depending on the community that you're in or the part of Kingston or part of the island in general that you're in, you're going to hear variations of it. And the terminologies may change, and the volume at which these things are expressed may differ, but the essence of it is the same. It's unwanted, it's aggressive, it's intrusive, and it's crass. So what Carrie is saying, it's the reality of a lot of women. My thoughts on it is this, that because of the frequency with which it happens, I have to wonder, has it yielded some degree of success for them? Because I can't believe that they would continue this behavior for generations and it not yield some results. So I have to wonder, is it that they get something out of it? They get some, at some point in time, you cast your lot, I mean, for 10, and you might end up catching 1. I don't know, but one can only think that maybe that's what a part of what feeds it. And then there's also this cultural acceptance that in some of these very communities that we're talking about, if you don't behave in this way, you are now viewed as an outcast. You're not behaving, move like a rest of Monday. So what do you want? You know, like, girl, that, and then you hear all of these things questioning the person's, whether it be their sexuality or are they Jamaican? So I mean, it is really just mind blowing. But I really do wonder: is it that they yield success? Why they are able? Why they continue?
Yes, they do.
Well, there you go. My question just got answered.
All right. So Carrie Ann, you say that there is success. What does that success actually look like? If as a man I call to a woman and say, yo, baby, and I think this is what you said. Me da like your foot on my shoulder.
Yes.
What does that success translate to me? What does that success look like? Do I take that young lady home?
Yes. All right. Let me just say something. When you're from a particular group and socialization, and you listen to the music, and the music is talking about the girl of this and the girl of that, and the this and man of this and man of that, and then you hear your peers repeating the same thing. You may even see your parents speaking to each other the same way. And so you see persons older than you relating to each other that kind of way. And so for the men, they will respond in that manner because that is what is influencing and driving them. And for the women, it is something that is natural because of how they have been socialized, how they grow, what they see. And so I have had friends in the past, and you know, a group of us walking. We were in high school. So I believe that this probably will be a little more than catcalling. It is now borderline in, going into the realm of pedophiles. So we're in high school, coming home from school, and men on the corner. Yeah, man, the girl, yeah, man, heavy sex and this, that, and stole a girl and Ray. And one of my friends actually stopped, and she gave the guy the time of day.
Wow.
And ended up in a relationship with the guy. And
wow.
Then when you look at the cycle of men that she chooses and how the men approach her, it's basically the same thing. So the issue of catcalling is bigger than just a group of us who are saying, but this thing is annoying.
Mm-hmm.
It starts from very young, and what we accept as a social norm.
Yes.
I mean, I was somewhere in a group of construction men. They were just harassing a friend of mine. Complete harassment. Hey, girl, you're going like you're better than we, and and so she had to now call some bad man to actually defend the thing,
What do you mean? Yeah. But what do you mean by that? She's walking along. They are harassing her, and she does what?
You see, let me tell you, it's fear.
Yes.
And so she had to find some men who were,
better than the construction workers.
Yeah.
Money have to draw for your bucket too.
Yeah.
Hold on. So she left, found those men, came back.
Yes, and the man them say, listen, if you not straighten up, you can't stay, so the whole thing have to mash up, yeah. So what that tells me is that, and you see, ironically, those men will some of them, not all, would even want to speak to other women in the same way in which they are defending her.
Yeah.
So what it tells me is that it is a different level of respect and expectation, because through them respect her a certain way, the man is supposed to deal with her. So had they not respected her in that kind of way, and me as a stranger should go to them and say, these men are harassing me, help me, probably it would not be taken like how that I'm kind of defense. And man, I said, man, I look here, man, the man just want a girl, man, you know, so you know, thing go. So it shows that although they do this, they don't want it for their sisters, their family, their persons who them have a different level of respect for.
So let me ask you a question, Carrie Ann. If you go along a particular route regularly, does a kind of relationship develop with somebody that you know? When I say no, like for example, you're walking to go out to the bus stop or to where the taxi is. Do you find that there is a set of young men who are always there, young or old men, and over time you begin to realize, okay, that set is going to call out to me all the while? How do you respond to them? Is it that you know them, you don't fear them, or is it that you know them and now the fear is even worse? Tell me about that.
Okay, so I've had situations where every day a group of men, like any hours a night you go, any hours a day, any hours a night you go on the road, they're there and they're harassing you. So you have to, let me tell you, you have to think quick. So I would walk with my headphones in. So I never hear nothing yet.
Even though you're here, you never hear.
Never hear. And then you find the disrespect start now. She almost lesbian, man. The girl is deaf, the girl is a mad girl. She say I idiot that. But even though they're saying these things, the catcalling continues. And so you start to hear, you know, because you're not with one of them or all of them, then you must be a lesbian. You couldn't be straight. And one of them actually came to me and him say, I don't understand how you know deal with a man like me. I'm say, who is a man like you? What do you have? What do you bring to the table? You know, man. I'm like, okay, I'm not interested. And that guy never stopped until the day he died.
Wow.
And though he had his women and his, you know, partners and whatever, he never stopped, because in a them head, as I said before, in a them head, them really and truly believe that they are the superior being and they are who they are. So anyway them choose to approach you, you should agree to it.
I am stunned by this because I don't experience catcalling. I must admit I do not experience catcalling on the road. And for you to say that this set of men will see you passing by about your own business every day,
every day,
and begin to up the tempo of the abuse, begin to get almost verbally violent in the abuse, calling you names, telling you things about yourself that you never know. All that, I just don't understand it. And I would ask you, what would you say to men like that if you could have them listen to you? If they were open to correction, what would you say to them?
Well, three things I would say. One, stop it.
Just plain stop it.
Stop it.
Stop it.
How does
Stop
it make
it.
you feel? How does it make you feel? Give me like 3 words of how you feel when it happens. How does it make you feel?
Sometimes I feel afraid, I feel angry, and I feel disappointed and disappointment and sadness, because this is your experience. You're saying, okay, and it will get worse if you're single. So now this is how men are relating to women, and this is how, so maybe me need can relax a little bit, because maybe I'm me something wrong with, because everybody, have a child, everybody in a relationship, and that's how men talk to women, and probably I need to. And so if you are not strong, if you don't have a strong sense and self-awareness of who you are and what you deserve, then you will give into this kind of thing. And I believe that some women have given into this, which is why the thing continues. But it starts from their children. It starts from their children.
And you mentioned that one of the feelings is a feeling of disappointment.
Yeah.
That disappointment is because you would have had an expectation, right?
Yes. Yes.
And that expectation is not being met at all by the men.
No,
Wow.
because
All right.
physically, naturally, a man is stronger than a woman, no matter how much exercise you do and whatever you do. So somebody preying on you, it's really disappointing.
That's rough. You said that there were three things you'd want to say. The first thing is stop doing this nonsense, gentlemen. What's the second thing?
Treat women just as how you'd want your daughters to be treated, or your mother, or your sister.
Wow. That's a golden rule, right?
Yeah.
Do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Do unto you. Correct.
And you wonder if our men know that. Do they know that golden rule? Okay, what's the third thing?
The third thing is treat women just as how God intended it to be from Adam and Eve, that Adam takes care of Eve. That's right, wrong, they saw it gone.
Oh, wow. I'm so glad you brought it to that. I'm glad you brought it to that. Teresa, would you like to make any comments?
I'm just sitting here and nodding, because everything that Terry is saying, I mean, that's the reality that we face, and that's something that I'm familiar with. And absolutely, it is, the essence of it is that they just need to stop. But there's always this double standard with those who are mine need to be protected, but everybody else, it's even pickings and it's open season. And we need to, socially, we need to move beyond this double standard. And whatever, as Kerry rightly said, whatever I would want for my own, or I would want for myself, and those I love, that needs to be extended to all. And we need to get to that place where that becomes a norm, and only through that will we start to see a shift. And we need to reestablish the family. The family structure, a solid, stable family structure, is the backbone of our society. And for generations now, we've been seeing that being eroded. And what ends up happening is the man on the corner is who now raises the young boys in the community. So there is no stable father. So they look towards the next male influence, or the next superior alpha male, who will oftentimes be the man on the corner, rub out him handle, and can make things happen. And they then emulate that behavior. And again, for us as women, the absence of the family structure, we don't have that man to teach us, this is how a man is supposed to treat you. This is what God intends for you and how you are to be treated. So with the absence of that, similarly, the next male influence that they encounter, they observe that behavior, they observe the behaviors that their mothers accept, their sisters, their aunts accept, all the women, the alpha females in their space, and then they in turn emulate it. And then we have this generational cycle that has got us to where we are now. And it unfortunately, the fear I have is that it's only going to get worse, and it's going to now go from just aggressive verbal behavior to the constant being the physical touch and the wanting to have physical contact. And we're seeing a trend in society now where there are so many incidents of women being assaulted, being abused, various different things happening to their person. And if you drill down to the root of it, it may have started from catcalling that went unrecognized, unacknowledged, ignored. And it, as Kerry was explaining, it just exacerbated and it just blew out of proportion. And we are where we are as a society now. So it's a serious problem. And as simple as some of the things that Kerry said sound, they really are where the root of us getting back to where we need to be as a society. That coupled with the family structure being reestablished, and us getting back to center. What does the word say? But my question for you, Kerry, is in addition to what I would have said, what are some of the real practical solutions that you think we could apply on a community level to help us to deal with this just encumbrance on our women in society?
Well, I would certainly want a part of the school curriculum from basic to high school, teaching men and women, boys and girls, what is really appropriate behavior. Because obviously something is wrong at home, or there's a disconnect, socialization, but we need to teach them from early, because catcalling starts from in primary school.
Wow.
So we need to retrain them or train them of basic appropriate behavior, because I do believe that most of these rapes, just as you said, and this kind of assault to women, as well as in the workplace. So when a male boss can feel that he's just really just trying to look somebody, or be in relation with somebody, the kind of inappropriate and the demands and the manipulation, we have to start from in the school. That is where it really begins. And for older men, and for older men who gone astray already, we need to stop it.
Absolutely.
Kerry, thank you so much for joining us, Kerry. This has been a real eye-opener for me, and I join Teresa in her assessment. A lot of this begins in the home and starts with the breakdown of the family. When a young man grows up and does not see a good father figure, it's kind of difficult for him to go against what he sees outside and what the big strong men in the community are doing. But I want to have us end on a note where we look at what the Bible says. And in Romans chapter 12, verse 2, it says, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind." And I'm going to encourage our men to renew our minds so that we can discern what is the will of God, what is good, acceptable, and perfect. And there is another verse I want us to look at. It's Philippians 4, verse 8. It says, and I'm talking to my men now, "Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things." And when we are catcalling our women, we cannot be thinking about things that are good and pure. We need to stop the nonsense, and we need to ensure that our women feel safe walking on the road. I want to invite comments from our listeners, our viewers. I want to ask you to join us. Let us know where it is that you would like us to go with our issues. We will come up with topics, but we want you to tell us topics that you're interested in hearing as well. And this particular one has really raised my awareness. This whole business of catcalling, wow. The fact that some women would even appreciate it is just staggering to me. But it is up to our men to do what is right. It is up to our men to engage in the real job of looking after our mothers, our aunts, our sisters, our daughters, our nieces, our friends, as they travel in their shoes. This is In Her Shoes. I'm going to ask Teresa if you can just give us the last word.
My word to my sisters is we need to continue to look out for each other, because we, as the sisterhood, we are under attack. We need to continue to look out for each other and support each other. And when we receive these advances, that's not okay. We deserve so much more. And I encourage you to see the value in yourselves and see yourselves rather as God sees us, and love ourselves accordingly and rise above it. There's so much more that God has in store for us in this life. Kerry, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
This has been In Her Shoes. Looking forward to seeing you again next week. Don't miss it.
Love this conversation. It just, wow, I had no idea. Thank you, Carrie Ann.
You're welcome.
All right.
Wow.